The investigation into what happened to 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez takes another turn, but still no arrests or even charges made in connection to her death. That hasn't stopped David, though, from lawyering up. Is it because charges are on the horizon, or is it simply damage control for the 20-year-old musician? We're exploring the latest and where the investigation currently stands. This is Inside the Crime, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner. Right now, it's still unclear how 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez died. Her body wasn't magically put in the trunk of singer David's Tesla. Someone had to put her there, right? But who? Either way, it seems like police are tackling on a new lead that could change everything that we first believed about this case. The death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez has captured the attention of many. She was reported missing by her family in April of 2024, and the next update it seems they received about her whereabouts was a death notification from police. We already know Celeste's body was found decomposed in the front truck of singer David's Tesla in early September. Now, investigators believe it is a strong possibility she had been dead for a while. According to the LA Times, the Tesla was ticketed 11 days before Celeste's body was found. Even when tow yard workers brought the car to the yard, the odor coming from the car was so foul they called police. And while all of that is very, very gruesome, what we don't know is, though, how she got there. When did she die? Was she murdered? What was her cause of death? All of those questions are still up in the air. But given all the mysterious circumstances in this case, it's left a lot of people wondering, why are there no arrests? Could charges be on the way for David, though? I mean, officials did say Celeste's body was found in a car registered to him, and we did learn he hired a high-profile criminal defense attorney. The hire might be strategic, especially as there's so much speculation going on right now. First, you have the reports that Celeste and David were allegedly in a romantic relationship, even though she was still a teenager. Celeste's mom said that her daughter's boyfriend's name was David. Then you have the matching shh tattoos both David and Celeste have on their fingers. The fact her body was in a car registered to him. He was spotted in a resurfaced photo in Celeste's hometown of Lake Elsinore. He had unreleased songs where the name Celeste was mentioned. He posted a music video earlier this year of him dumping a corpse in the trunk of a car as he portrayed himself as both the killer and the victim. Is it too many circumstances that make up one big coincidence, or is there more to the story? But who is the criminal defense attorney coming to his defense? David has reportedly tapped Blair Berk to represent him amid the ongoing investigation. Berk is known for representing other famous faces like CeeLo Green, Bruno Mars, Lindsay Lohan, NFL player Darren Sharper, and so much more. Now, it's important to note here, David has not been publicly named as a suspect or persons of interest in Celeste's death. In a statement on Monday, a spokesperson for the Los Angeles Police Department said, "The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not yet determined the cause or manner of Ms. Rivas Hernandez's death. As such, it remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body." So it seems like maybe the LAPD is looking into this case as a concealment. LAPD Captain and Commanding Officer Scott M. Williams told People magazine the police department's robbery homicide division is still probing the case. He told the outlet, "We know that the Tesla has been parked at the location from which it was towed for several weeks. So it is very likely Celeste Rivas Hernandez has been dead for several weeks prior to her body being discovered." Captain Williams also confirmed LAPD officers conducted a search at the home where the Tesla was towed. On September 18th, about 10 days after Celeste's body was found, officers were seen recovering evidence from a rental home in the Hollywood Hills. The property was reportedly rented by David's manager for a whopping $20,000 a month. Law enforcement confirmed they did recover a computer and other evidence, but 2 days after the search, David and his manager Josh Marshall moved out of the property. David's manager did release a statement recently about all the speculation online he's been seeing about the case. He wrote on social media, quote, "This is the only time I'll speak on this matter, for now. This has been a tough time for my family as I am a father of 3 children. I received no emails and I'm no one's roommate. I live full-time at home with my wife and kids. My daughter is 14 and this news is affecting so many lives. I never received any emails. I had zero knowledge of anything and I don't live in California. Also, I work remotely 95% of the time, and my job doesn't require me to have much interaction with any of my clients / David, as there are many others that work with him on a day-to-day capacity, not me. This news is tragic for so many and for her family. I hope the proper authorities get to the bottom of it soon. Let me remind people a lot of this is speculation and alleged. In the meantime, I am with my family helping them emotionally get through the news of this tragedy. Please report on factual information." The speculation surrounding the case has taken the investigation to another level. A day after the rental home was raided by police, over in Texas where David's parents live, officers swarmed his parents' home after getting calls of an active shooting.
I'll go out wide and keep you covered. You want to tap the door? Just wait for me, because I'm going to keep you covered. Go ahead. I got you covered. Come right here. There's too many windows. Here, knock on the door. We got a phone call from here saying that somebody was dead. What? Is there somebody else that lives on this property that has your address? What's your address?
No.
That's it.
That's it. That's what actually
we got an address. There was a gunshot and a woman scream.
What?
I'm serious. That's why we came up here like this, because and then they talked to the caller. Whoever they were talking to said that there's a person dead.
No, sir. No, sir.
Knock on the door. We need to talk to him. We ain't got time for this.
Ma'am, we got to figure out what's going on so we can leave, okay?
Very advised. We made contact. They said nothing happened here. She shut the door. Now she's calling 911.
That's clear. We haven't received a call.
I believe she's going to be in the process.
Go ahead, give him a call if you want to verify it. Okay.
All right, she's calling you now. There's more that went on.
Can you repeat, sir? Broken traffic.
Huh? That's not normal activity. If you were at the wrong address, they'd be concerned about somebody else. Like really? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they'd be trying to help.
Can you send 10-42, sir?
Sorry to bother you, but somebody called and said there was something. I mean, there was a person where they called on themselves. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, there's somebody dead.
Someone's dead. Yeah.
That's why we had to take caution. You know what I mean? Wasn't trying to scare y'all. Just this house is way off the roadway.
So you just opened the gate and came in?
Yes, ma'am. I'll put it back. I have a gate just like it.
I can try to get my country.
Yeah, when it's something like this, when they say somebody's dead, their life matters more than, you know what I mean? I didn't damage your gate. I just opened it. Okay. It ain't on their phone.
And this is not a Texas.
Yeah, that's an out-of-state number.
Someone's messing with us.
But it would pinged here though, because wherever they call from, it pings and sends it to dispatch.
What?
So like whenever you call 911, wherever you are, it sends like a ping. That's how they know the address.
And this address came up to this number? Yes, ma'am. That's where he was meeting. County to engine 42. So is there somebody on my property?
It could be. We'll check the property for you.
Yes, please.
So we'll ride around. If you can give me a layout, how's the property? Like, does it go further? Like,
no, it doesn't go any further back. It's right here, and then it goes right
the fence. They got the gate here and the fence around, which is a private fence. Okay.
Well, him and I will ride around and check, and then we'll leave. You know?
Yeah. Okay. So that was a false alarm. You see, I don't like this kind of thing. So if I really do have an emergency, then
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry.
Well, if you do have an emergency, you know we're going to be here.
Okay.
We're going to get here.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
So as you just saw, a total hoax. Nobody else was on the property besides David's family, and the incident was filed as a swatting prank. David's career has been upended in light of the investigation, even though he hasn't been criminally charged as of this recording. He lost brand deals, his tour was canceled, his record label put a halt to release his latest album. But amidst the controversy, it hasn't stopped some from being curious about his music. His song Romantic Homicide, which was released in 2022, climbed the Spotify charts, and his videos on YouTube began trending again. With about a month into the investigation, detectives are still working to get to the bottom of what happened to Celeste. Her remains were released to her family last week. LAPD Chief Jim McDonald said in a statement, quote, "It is an ongoing investigation. We have a lot of resources dedicated to bringing it to a conclusion." And it seems like with this case, we're breaking down more and more updates each and every time. I'm joined now by attorney Melba Pearson. Melba, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining me today. You know, do you think that David hiring a criminal defense attorney, do you think it's possibly more for damage control or possibly because criminal charges could be on the way?
Well, Elizabeth, always great to be on with you. And I think it's more of a preventative measure because number one, you want to make sure, my understanding is that he is cooperating with law enforcement, but you also want to make sure you're preserving your rights and your right to remain silent. Even though you may be cooperating, you may also be incriminating yourself based on some of the statements. So to have that attorney there to help you go through the process and advise you as to what questions you should answer, how much detail you should give, etc., is something that is a very good idea. And I would advise anybody who's in that kind of situation, heaven forbid, if you're in an investigative type situation and you may be the target, to have counsel to be able to preserve your rights. And also, secondly, counsel does play that role of almost that PR person making statements to the media, again, knowing the limits of what should and should not be said in terms of you don't want to say something in the public space that can then be used in an eventual trial if that happens at this juncture, but you don't want something you said publicly to come back to haunt you. So again, the attorney will kind of play that role of PR in some ways, as well as preserving your legal rights.
And what do you say to people who might think that hiring a criminal defense attorney, that big kind of word there, criminal defense attorney, is some kind of admission of guilt?
It's not. It's not at all, because at the end of the day, many people get investigated. Not everybody gets charged. So just because you are involved in an investigation does not automatically mean you done something wrong. Again, we're in this country, we're innocent until proven guilty. And it's the burden of the whichever state, the state of California, the state of New York, whatever the case may be, to prove that you did whatever it is they alleged you did. So having a criminal defense attorney, not only is it not a bad thing, but it's also something I would highly recommend. Heaven forbid, if I'm in the situation, trust, I have my speed dial list of people would call, because even I, as an attorney, know, well, first of all, only a fool kind of represents themselves in a lot of ways. But secondly, you're too close to the issue. So you may end inadvertently making statements or doing things that may put you more in the frame than you even need to be. So it's just a good rule of thumb. It's a good practice. If you end up being involved in an investigation, engage counsel sooner rather than later.
And that's why during every single Law and Order episode I've ever seen, most of the suspects are like lawyer before even the first question is even uttered out there.
Exactly.
And there's been a lot of speculation online, especially about this case, but investigators are kind of starting to believe this is possibly a concealment case as opposed to a murder or homicide investigation. What are your thoughts, and how serious is a concealment case, even though, it doesn't stand out as much as murder, but in terms of just how serious that charge could be, how serious is it?
Yeah, so Elizabeth, my initial gut instinct in all of this, not that I know David or him as an artist or anything like that, but it's one of those situations where if you've committed a murder, are you really going to keep the evidence, as in the body, that close to you? That kind of defies logic. So that didn't seem to really feel like a true pathway or a true recitation of what may have happened. So my gut instinct was always maybe they were partying, she overdosed, something along those lines. Maybe he or someone else, moved her and things just kind of spiraled from there. But it wasn't a homicide per se, that it was just a night of fun that went horribly awry. Now, was that the appropriate way to handle it? Absolutely not. And that's why we have charges like concealment or desecration of a corpse or something along those lines. And depending on the jurisdiction, it can be a misdemeanor all the way to maybe a lower level felony. So it's certainly not in the same realm as murder or attempted murder or anything like that. And I believe in the state of California that concealment is a misdemeanor. So that would be, what he would be facing, again, if he was the one to place this poor child in the trunk of the car. It could have been somebody else that was partying with them and decided to take the initiative and do something that was horrible and inappropriate, rather than calling, EMS, calling 911 or something along those lines. But there is the possibility that if it was a drug partying situation, they didn't want to call law enforcement because, again, they're thinking we've got drugs in the house, we've got a celebrity here, this is all going to be a bad look, so let's try to handle it. And they picked the wrong way to handle it.
Yeah, and it's still so much in the air that we just don't know, which makes this case even more mysterious. And I can understand why so many people are kind of captivated by this case too. But Melba, in terms of being an attorney, especially if someone is in the criminal defense kind of sector, how difficult is it to represent a client when so many people have already rushed to judgment on this case when no charges have been filed, no arrests have even been made yet?
It is difficult because our system is innocent until proven guilty, but the court of public opinion has a whole different standard completely that has nothing to do with law. So people may assume just because you're in a particular industry, you are a hip hop artist or you're of a certain demographic, that automatically, because you have been your name has been mentioned in conjunction with something awful, you must have done it. And that's unfortunate, but that's where we are, which is another reason why you hire counsel, to make sure that they're here working in conjunction with your public relations team in the case of a celebrity, but trying to, again, preserve your image in the press and letting people know, listen, my client is cooperating. My client is horrified that this happened and had much affection for this person, or whatever the case may be, but kind of give that messaging that there's more to the story. And also, if he were in fact to be charged, you do have to consider that publicity going into the time, pre-charging and then pre-trial. And does that impact whether or not you can get a fair and impartial jury in your jurisdiction? You may eventually, if it ends up in a situation where there's a trial, you may want to have a change of venue, or basically move it from where the most of the press was, so that at least there'll be a jury pool of people who may be less familiar with the facts. But again, of course, depending on the level of celebrity, as we see with the Diddy case, it really doesn't matter where you go. I mean, you could go to the Pluto or wherever, and they would have heard about this case. So again, it all kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah, especially because, everything too also on that other end is so circumstantial, right? I mean, but it's interesting because I think there are just so many coincidences in this case where you have the matching like tattoos on their fingers, that they might have allegedly been involved in a romantic relationship, even though Celeste was just a teenager. David is in his 20s at this point. But then you also have the fact that she was found in his car. There's just so many coincidences that I'm kind of wondering, in your opinion, Melba, is this too many coincidences? Is this too circumstantial from what we know right now?
Well, it depends on the charge we're looking at, because we have to first off see what the medical examiner says as in terms of cause of death and manner of death. Does the medical examiner, coroner, say that this is a homicide? Do they say it's undetermined? Do they say it was an accident? What does the toxicology report say? You have the situation of whether or not statutory rape charges would be appropriate, but now you have an issue of proof because, as again, it's come to light that she's not pregnant. So who would be the one to really testify that there was an intimate relationship? We can speculate from matching tattoos and videos of them appearing together in live streams, but that in and of itself would not be enough to rise to the level of proving statutory rape. So we're now in a situation where we're really either looking at concealment or abuse of a corpse or something along those lines, or now in terms of, was he the one that gave her the drugs that caused her demise? That's a whole other pathway that you have to go down and see who would be the ones to testify as to how all of this happened. Would it be friends, people in his circle? Will he be the one to admit to, yes, I gave her narcotics and I did not anticipate that her tolerance was so low that it would result in an overdose or something along those lines? Again, lots of questions that need to be answered at this juncture.
Yeah, so many questions that need to be answered. And I'm interested too to hear your perspective on this, Melba, about the reaction that David has been getting from fans, from people who are just now learning who he is, all of that sort, because he hasn't been arrested or charged. We do have to emphasize that very often here. But you're having situations where he's, his career has been upended by this, even though he hasn't been named as a suspect or person of interest. His parents' home was swatted. Brands have stopped working with him. His album release was put on pause. All of these different things have been affecting him. And while the investigation should always be about Celeste Rivas Hernandez and what had happened to her, are you surprised about the reaction that David is getting, given that we don't even know if he is a suspect, a person of interest, or people are kind of already drawing the lines to murder, and that hasn't even been proven yet?
Sadly, I'm not surprised by the reaction he's getting. Many times we as a society rush to judgment, and it's very easy to believe the worst of someone. So, sadly, people are immediately assuming that he was guilty. And of course, looking at the facts and the fact that you have, this poor, beautiful young lady who was estranged from her family, she had gone missing, and now to be found in such an awful way, it boggles the mind. And the fact that it was his car makes people leap to the conclusion, well, clearly he's the one who put her there. Again, maybe that wasn't the case. But again, unfortunately, as a society, we rush to judgment. And I don't know if he's going to be able to recover the status he enjoyed before this incident. Maybe it might be a different path for him. Maybe he may get a resurgence in his career in the next few years. It just would have to, assuming that this case is resolved in a positive manner for him, maybe in a few years, memories would fade a bit, and then he'd be able to resume his career in some way, shape, or form. But I wouldn't be stunned if his career is over at this juncture because of the negative publicity and, folks very strongly feeling perturbed, disturbed by his connection to this case.
And we'll continue to see how this all continues to unfold because it has a lot of eyes on it. And I think a lot of people at this point definitely want to know what happened to Celeste, if somebody is responsible for it, who that person is, and will they be brought to justice. And we'll be continuing to follow this as this continues to develop. Melba Pearson, I want to thank you so much for your time and your insight into this case. I really appreciate it.
Thank you as always, Elizabeth.
And again, at this time, David Anthony Berk, or David, has not been publicly named as a suspect, nor have criminal charges been brought against him or anyone in connection to Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death. We're going to continue to keep a close eye on this case as more continues to develop. But that does it for this episode. Be sure to watch more on the Law&Crime YouTube channel. I'm Elizabeth Millner, and this has been Inside the Crime.